Right.
Do you want us to start now, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first presentation, if you like. I'm going to keep it short. It's not going to be too boring, and some of the things I'm going to talk about you probably already know. But these are just some ideas I've used myself for QRP operation with various radios over the years, and how to power them. Because as we all know, starting off with something like this is probably something like we all start with when we go out and about. The battery power on these things is reasonably okay until you start going on 5 watts. As soon as you go on 5 watts with this, you'll drain the battery within an hour.
Happens with mine.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
You'll drain it within the hour. So they are okay, and I mean what a lot of people do, they'll buy a spare battery and they'll charge 2 up and they'll take it out with them. Well, that's great, but if you're out and about, let's say you're camping or in a caravan, or you haven't got a power supply that you can recharge the batteries, you're not going to get much operation if you're away for the weekend. So you can power it from your car with the Yaesu dedicated plug. So you can plug that in your cigar lighter and plug that into the rig. But you have to leave the battery in. Now I found a better option. Out of this radio. Now, a very nifty device is that. So that is not a battery. That is what they call a battery eliminator. Okay? So you put that in, like you would your battery, snap it into place, plug that straight in your cigar lighter, and away you go with that for as long as you want. So that's great.
Is that a Yaesu one?
No, it's a third-party one, probably made in China, but it works. You know, I've used it many times. And you can turn this then into a mobile rig quite easily. The only problem now is antennas, because with an FT70 you're supplied with that. Not very good, really. Good for local stuff, like I don't live far from Lee. I could probably talk to me all day long on this, but we're only about, what, half a mile away from each other? But if you're out and about and want to make some more contacts, you need something a bit better. So, they're quite cheap. And that is a super gainer antenna, available at Moonraker, with the same fitting, those on there, and it does the bands that this does, which is 270 and the C4 FM. So that's not bad, it's a little bit better than that. But if you're in your car and you're not moving away from your car, you can buy one of these. It's a little pigtail with the SMA on one end, but there you've got the PL259. So if you put a mag mount on your car with a whip for 270, screw that into the radio and plug the aerial from the whip. You're far better then with that. And the other accessory that's very good is the speaker mic. So you plug that into there, you've got that into there, you shove that on your console, plug that in, and you've got a little mobile rig straight away, and you can hear everything because it comes out of there, and press that. All these accessories for this radio are reasonably cheap. Think that, probably about 15 quid, something like that. The battery eliminator, that, probably about 20 quid, maybe less. That, I think about tenner. So that, again, probably about 20 quid. So if you're going out mobile with all these bits and pieces, with that and all this, you've got yourself a little mini mobile rig for 5 watts. And powering it from the car battery with any of these accessories, you're going to get a lot of time out of it, you know, rather than the internal batteries. Now, that's a bit about the FT70D. Now another radio I use for QRP operation is an FT818, which is a cracking little radio. I used to have the FT817, but I did sell it to Jamie at the time. And I think Jamie's quite happy with it, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they are a brilliant radio. There is some problems with them, drawbacks if you like, and the main one is a power drain, because with this, on receive, it draws between 300 and 400 milliamps. It doesn't sound a lot, but it is if you're running it on battery.
Right.
If you transmit with it on the full 6 watts that this one will put out, or the 817 which is 5 watts, so there ain't a lot of difference, it's about 2.4 amps. Now 2.4 amps on a battery ain't going to last you very long. Now one thing they supply you with, which I think is a total waste of time, I'll show it you anyway, is that. Right? Now that takes 8 Duracell AA batteries, and you open the back, that clips in the back and connects to a plug that's inside. So you can operate that on 8 AA batteries. I've tested it. If you get half an hour, you're lucky. And that's on receive. As soon as you transmit on 1 watt, 2 watts or whatever, the battery thing will start flashing. How much are 8 AA batteries? I worked it out to probably about £8. To get 8 AA batteries will cost you in the region of £8, and you're going to get half an hour's operation. Not very cost effective, if you don't mind me saying, but that's what they supply it with, and it's useless. What it is, you might as well throw it in the bin. The slightly better option is the NIMH battery pack, which is 1.9 mega amp hours. That's that one. Now, if you bought that radio new, you would get one of those with it. But a lot of people buy these things second hand. They buy them off other people. Jamie bought one off me, and so off other amateurs in clubs and whatever. Possibly wouldn't come with that. Now if you want to buy one of those, it will cost you £49 from Martin Lynch. Quite expensive. But 1.9 mega amp hours, when this draws 2.4 amps on transmit, full power, work it out yourself, do the maths, how long are you going to get with that? I worked it out, if you leave it on 2.5 watts, which it defaults to if you were to put that in, it will default to 2.5 watts. You're lucky. Good evening. You might, if you're lucky, get an hour. If you're lucky. Depending on how much transmitting you do. So for 40 odd quid to get an hour's operation away from a car, if you're walking up the hills and everything, isn't really that cost effective. They have got...
Sorry,
Yeah,
how
go on.
many milliamps is it?
1900.
So that's
They've improved it
1.99.
since the 817. The one they used to supply with the 817, which Jamie's got, was 1300.
Right,
When they brought the 818 out, they improved the battery pack a little bit.
yeah.
Well, a little bit is better than nothing.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really give you that much for 40 odd quid,
No.
if you think about it. So really those two options are only going to work for very short periods, basically. Now, there are some other drawbacks with this radio, and the first one is the plug at the back. This is an adapter to take power pole plugs. The plug on the back of this is a little bit like the one on the side of the handheld, but the problem is it's soldered directly onto the board inside. So if you're plugging that little plug in and out, in and out, in and out, and you twist it a couple of times and over the top, that plug will fail. It will fail eventually. So I found at Solder Beam Salon is that, and it screws in to the ground lug at the back. They supply it with a washer and they supply it with a longer screw. And you take the ground lug screw out, you put the adapter, which has got the plug there, into there, and then tighten it up with the screw that they provide, and now you've got power pole adapters. And I think I converted yours.
Yeah, it's got them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that is a power lead for the car with the power pole adapters on the end. And instead of plugging it into that dicky socket at the back, what you're doing now is you're just plugging it in to the power pole adapter at the back, if I can get the bloody thing to go in. There, it just snaps in. And you haven't got all that stress on the socket at the back when you're taking plugs in and out, in and out, in and out. And I think that is a cracking little accessory, if you like, for the 818. It's superb. And I'd recommend anybody that's got one of these radios to purchase that. Available at Solder Beams, get them on the web, but you can get them on the eBay a little bit cheaper. Solder Beams knock them out at 19 quid. I've seen them on eBay for 15, 12, 13. It might be a different colour plastic. What they do is they're 3D printed, that's all they are. With a bit of wire inside with the adapter, and then make your own lead up with the PowerPoint lead there and take it on. And I soldered them on for that particular one. The ideal way of powering that rig is from a 13.8 watt power supply, to be honest. So if you're in your shack at home, then use your 13.8 power supply. But you're not really using it for what it's designed for. And what it's designed for is to take out and use portable.
Yeah.
Another thing as well, if you put that on a table, it's flat. You can't see the little screen at the front. So you can buy, again, from Solder Beams, peg legs. Like that. And those fit on the side where the belt clip goes. Dead easy to fit. And raises it up like that. So you can see the screen at the front. You've got two antenna sockets on this rig. The back one is a PL259 and the front one is BNC. So what you can do, you could use it as a glorified handheld by putting one of them on the BNC and holding it and transmit that way, as long as you've got your microphone plugged in, of course. So that's a little bit about the 817, 818. But better ways of powering, because we've already said these two are pretty much useless. They have got advantages because they do fit inside the radio. So you're not carrying any other accessory with you when you're away from your car. But you're not going to get much operation, are you? Unless you buy a sack full of AA batteries or charge up about 3 of them, which would cost you 140 quid. So how would you do it? Well, I don't know if you've ever seen something like that. That particular device is designed to power motorised telescopes for astronomy. The good thing about this, it's got lots of things on it. It's got for your cigar lighter there, 10 amp sockets. It's even got at the back like a 13.8 power supply terminals there. It's got a flashlight if you're out camping. If you're doing astronomy, it's got a red light. So it's quite good, and you've even got USB sockets. So the advantages of that are, that's 7 amp hours. Do the maths, that will draw 2.4 amps on full power, and that's 7 amp hours. You're going to get 2 or 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, depending on how much you transmit and what power you transmit with. So that is a good option. Unfortunately, feel the weight of it. It's quite heavy, isn't it? It's lead acid, old technology, and reasonably heavy, reasonably large. If you're going up a mountain or a hillside with this on your back and a little knapsack, you don't want to be lugging that with you, because it's quite heavy, and you're going to get fatigued after a bit. And although I find this very good if I want to, on a summer's day in the garden, sat at a table having a beer on a nice sunny afternoon with that underneath and that radio on the table, brilliant, absolutely superb. And it's got so many other uses. The drawback of it, they're a pig to charge. The charger that comes with that, you have to charge it for 24 hours to get a full charge. It's lead acid, which unfortunately let me think. Yeah, this model designed for motorised telescope, it's 60-70 quid to buy, something like that. It's not out of the way for the amount of power you're going to get out of it, but you're going to get good operation time, 3 to 4 hours at full power. It's got cigar lighter sockets, a flashlight and everything. But the cons of that, it's heavy, it's old technology, takes 24 hours to charge it, and it's only got between 300 and 400 charge cycles before it will start to degrade. And the thing of lead acid batteries, you cannot let them discharge 100% because they will lose and degrade. So even if you don't use that, every month or so you've got to bung a charger into it and give it a full charge for 24 hours, which a pain, an absolute pain. It comes with a charger that a little bit like the plug on the cigar lighters that goes in there, and it's 12 volt, no 15 volt, and you've got to leave it on charge for 15 hours, for 24 hours to gain full charge. If you don't do that and it loses its charge, it will degrade and you can't repair them. A bit like a car battery, they're lead acid technology, but these are seal lead acid. But they're very good, they're absolutely superb, and they do the job. But unfortunately, they are heavy, old technology, pig to charge, and you have to charge them every couple of months or so to keep them in tip-top condition. So let's look at some new technology to take out with you. This is a LiFePO4 lithium iron phosphate deep cycle battery. Well, as you can see, difference in size, third the weight, not very happy. Yeah. Not very heavy, though, is it?
No,
really?
isn't it?
Light as a feather. Now, you could easily put that in a backpack, you know, on with your radio and what have you. And that is 8 amp hours. Do the maths. 2.4 amp draw, 8 amp hours. Easily, you're going to get half a day of good transmission away from your car. Because what I do when I'm QRP operator, I'll drive to a high place and I'll do a bit of operation from my car with a mag mount and a 40 metre whip and a 270 and what have you. And then I might want to walk, I might want to go a bit higher up the hill that I can't get the car up. I might even want to put a fiberglass pole up and strap a wire to a tree or something. These other battery I'm not going to carry that up an hill. And these things are not going to work very well because they're not going to give me a lot of operation time. But that, superb.
Yeah, brilliant.
Absolutely superb. So these are lithium iron phosphate, arguably one of the better options. 8 amp hours, 45 to 50 quid. Well, sounds a lot when you first say it, but let's have it right. That's 40 quid. 8 AA batteries for half an hour operation is what? What did we say? About 8 quid?
Yeah.
8 quid. All of a sudden that becomes quite cheap. The other thing about this is it's lighter weight, 1/3 the weight of sealed acid, it's newer technology, it's got a 10-year lifespan. So for that 40, 50 quid, it's going to last you 10 years, it might outlive me. And it can take 3,000 charge cycles, upwards of 3,000.
And you have to charge it regularly?
No. Once every 6 months will keep it okay. And unlike the lead acid, if you let this discharge, it will recover. So you don't have to worry. I wouldn't recommend you discharge it and leave it stored for any length of time. If you're going to keep it stored for any length of time, charge it and then store it. But it doesn't lose its charge as quickly as that. I think you'll agree, pass it round, it's not heavy.
How long does it take to charge?
3 hours.
It's not bad, is it?
Oh, good, isn't it?
2 to 3 hours
Fingers on it.
to give it a full
On
charge.
your
Sugar,
fingers.
sugar.
You'll get a belt off that if you
Yeah.
put your fingers on them too.
Yeah.
Not bad, is it?
No, I was just thinking when he showed it, I could have got a bum back for putting that in.
Exactly.
Right,
Exactly.
right,
The only thing you'd have to be careful of with that is on the top is 2 terminals.
Yeah.
If you haven't got them covered up, make sure there's no metal in there
Yeah.
to short, you know.
Belt.
But I mean, that's common sense anyway,
Yeah.
you know, with a battery.
Did you
Now,
get a charge
there,
for that?
there are some drawbacks with it, I won't deny, nothing's perfect. The difference with this, there are lots of different capacities of that style of battery available, from as little as 1 amp hour up to 150-ish amp hours. The higher up the scale you go, the heavier and larger they get, and the more expensive they get. I've just told you that costs about 40 to 50 quid. If you was to go for 100 amp hours, it costs you like 800 quid. So I thought when I bought that, that's like the ideal between cost, longevity and weight,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But it's entirely up to the individual of which size of battery they buy. You need a power lead from the rig that will fit on those terminals. Well, all I did was make myself one. If you could find there it is, thank you, Paddy. I soldered 2 spade on the end there and 2 power poles there, and that plugs into the rig and those slip onto the terminals. So that, if you're on a picnic table, that and the power lead, not a great deal of equipment, is it?
No.
And then you can put your antenna to whatever, you know, you've slung a wire up in a tree or whatever you've done. And you can play HF on that radio as well. QRP, 6 watts. And I've worked on 6 watts with this at the right location on a whip on the top of my car into Bulgaria 5 and 8. So, you know, you can do it. There's no doubt about it. The other drawback of lipos is you can't just charge them with any old charger. You do need a dedicated charger that will do this technology of battery. I got this off Amazon. I ordered it one day, it was there the next. And I ordered a charger that will charge live pole batteries. That was 40 to 50 quid, the charger was 30 quid. The charger plugs in the mains, there's a lead comes off it with 2 crocodile clips, you clip them on there, you sit it down, you leave it for 3 hours, and the charger charges it and switches off when it's done. Simple as that. It conditions it as well, it's a 7-stage charger. But you'd have to Google and go on Amazon and have a look round and get, but make sure you don't just use any old charger because you would ruin the battery. Dedicated for LiPo is what you want when you're talking about the charger. Another good thing, oh yeah, sometimes you can Google around for these LiPo batteries and they do deals. They'll sell the battery and charger for X amount. I've seen that advertised at certain places. So you can have a look round for that. So you do need a dedicated charger. And that basically is it. Because I'll just give you possibly some ideas of what I've used in the past and some of the downfalls of different battery technologies. And that, to me, is the best one. Yeah? Any questions?
You could use that in a car, couldn't you? Just the
Yeah.
same, yeah. No problem.
Are the peg legs, are they expensive, Keith? Are the peg legs expensive, Keith?
About 15 to 20 a set. You can pick them up off, I think Radio World sell them, I'm sure Martin Lynch sell them. And to fit them, they don't come with any instructions, unfortunately. They come with the screws, they come with the washers, but they don't tell you which order to put them in. There's a video on Martin Lynch that tells you how to fit.
Okay, thanks, yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. There are some other accessories for this radio. I've got one in here, which I use for HF, and that's a speech compressor. So you plug the microphone in there, and you plug that into the rig. And then you can switch on compression or turn compression off, which is quite good.
How much is that, Keith?
I don't know. It's from Sotheby's, but when I bought this radio, he sold it with that.
All right.
I think, from memory, I've seen them at about 30 quid.
Right.
There's many, many other accessories for that radio, and Sotheby's is the place to have a look, because he has a dedicated page for the 817.
Right.
Now, we all know there's many other QRP rigs. Paddy's got the Icon IC705, I believe, haven't you? Which is like a much more modern QRP rig, and you're very happy with that, aren't
Oh,
you?
yeah.
There's one from Zygu. You've had a Zygu.
Yeah, G90.
They do one that looks a bit like an Ellicraft,
Yeah.
and I believe it's very
That's
good.
the
I
other
guess
model, I think it's an X50 or something.
something like that.
5105.
That's it, yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's actually quite good.
Yeah.
I believe, and very good reviews.
G90's got good reviews, hasn't it?
Yeah, 20 watts that as well.
Yeah.
But all you need to do, I mean, all what I've told you today, like with this and a dedicated charger, you just have to botch yourself a power lead up, depending on what your particular rig takes.
Yeah.
And then you just need the spade ends for the battery.
Have you got an inline fuse on that? Or you
No.
you're not bothered?
Not for 5 watts, 6 watts. I don't bother. I mean, that car one with the thingies on, power poles on,
Yeah.
that's got a fuse in there.
Right, yeah.
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 Keith, you know when the FT70 with the battery
Yeah.
in, and plugged into the power,
Yeah.
can you use a radio like that?
You can. You can't use it with the charger that comes with the radio.
Oh, in the cradle, is it?
No, the little square one that plugs into the mains.
Right.
If you try and do that, it's not supplying enough juice.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you plug that into your 12-volt power supply, I've no doubt it will work then.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but I've always used the battery eliminator,
Yeah.
and that way I can.
I might get one of them as well.
Yeah, they're on the internet.
Is it
Just Google battery eliminator FT70D, and I find that way I could charge one battery, or if I've got 2 of them, I could charge 2 of them, put them in my pocket, while I'm in my car use the battery eliminator, so I'm not using any power at all from these batteries. And if I go for a walk away from the car, take the batteries with me and swap it over. That way I'm getting quite a bit of life.
Where did you get that from, Keith? I get the same for mine. The
battery eliminator?
I've already got one for another radio, but where did you get the one for
I
that?
can't remember where
I've
I
already
got
got
it from.
that antenna to go with it.
Yeah, that's from Moonraker.
Instead I broke my clip on mine, so we'll have to buy
That, I can't remember where I got that from.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I cannot remember where I got it from. It could have been Moonraker. But you can, if you Google battery eliminator FT70D, you'll come up with that,
Right.
and you'll find them
I'll get
all over the place.
Yeah, I'll do that for a second.
I think I found them on eBay as well. I've seen them on eBay. Yeah. I think. Is there any more questions about any of that?
Apparently John was saying that the alarm, house alarm batteries are,
Yeah, I've used those.
Yeah,
UAC bird alarm batteries.
that's right. Well, these LifePole technology batteries, the smaller ones, the flatter ones, they use a lot in radio controlled aircraft
right,
and helicopters. And you can get some at 1 or 2, 3 amp hours,
Yeah.
which is it's okay. It's a far better option than these
yeah,
because you're going to get a lot more life out of it. But for me, when I go out and about, that is ideal.
Yeah.
It's just the right size and weight to go in a backpack or a bag, and it gives me the maximum amount of time for transmitting without being too heavy and without being too large, if you like.
Yeah.
That's the ideal compromise between them all, for me. But if you go on the internet, you'll find all sorts of different size capacities. It's only when you start getting into the 50 amp hour, 100 amp hour, and even more, they become very, very heavy and very, very expensive.
yeah.
A 100 amp hour one will weigh about 12 kilos. Now you don't want to be lugging that
No.
up an hill, do you? And they're also going to cost you about 800. Any other questions? No?
No.
Right, thanks for listening.
Yeah.
That's it.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Well done, mate.
Cheers.
Definitely looking tonight.
Yeah, they're good. Yeah.